Persona 3 Reload is a faithful remake of the original Persona 3 JRPG/social life sim game released back in 2006 that has been overhauled from the ground up and encompasses cutting-edge visuals, addictive combat gameplay, plentiful character relationships, and a mature story that explores themes of the human psyche and morality of life and death. To preface this video, I've never played any of the Persona 3 original games before, so it's extremely refreshing to start with Reload after having experienced P4G and P5/Royal. Currently I'm around 30 hours into my first playthrough and enjoying the exploration, mixing in between high school life, the dungeon crawling tower of Tartarus and other side activities. With all that said, today I'll be showcasing 8 amazing things that I think make Persona 3 Reload worth playing. I'll do my best to keep the main story spoiler free, however, there will of course be very minor spoilers when discussing the general game features. As the title states, P3R is truly beautiful, and I mean that both in the sense of stunning, stylized anime-esque graphics and the main blue hues that are core to the game's emotional, darker themes. I find the blue-white shades and water motifs extremely comforting and soothing compared to B4 and 5, which may sound strange due to the nature of the story. However, I think I can objectively say it's a lot easier on the eyes compared to the yellows and reds from P4 and 5. If you've played Persona 5 or Royal and love the presentation and style of those games, you're gonna be in for another great time. And even if you haven't, Reload is definitely one beautifully crafted game. In general, the presentation is super clean and everything flows very naturally as you interact between menus, in and out of combat, or when you're speaking to characters, and aligns well with the excellent music playing in the background, which we'll touch on a bit more later. But just the overall attention to detail in these departments offers a very harmonious experience that is sometimes hard to stop playing as you're fully immersed in the deep depths of the story. I could talk about the graphics and visual design all day, but to keep it very structured, I've decided to break it up into bite-sized-ish sections, which leads me to the next section, the user interface. Of course, it's not all blue and gloom. Massive praise has to go out to the UI artists of the Atlus team for Persona games in general, and it certainly pays off here once again since Persona 5 came onto the scene. The DNA of P5's unique graphic, comic book style aesthetics has been injected into P3R to form a kind of pseudo-clean, vibrant visual language. You see this in how it's presented as you navigate the various menus, the character interactions with carefully considered dialogue boxes and character portraits. You also see this in the various environmental backdrops, animated cutscenes, and in particular, enemy battles where I feel the team took the most time to make this area shine. And for good reason, as you'll be spending the most time here outside of exploring the city and socialising with the locales. We'll cover more on these sections later on. If you didn't gather from all the game snippets you've seen so far, Persona 3 and the series as a whole takes place in modern day Japan within a high school setting in the year 2009. You control a male protagonist, canonically known as Makoto Yuki, who is a transfer student at Gekkoukan High School. The school and the main surroundings are located on the fictional Tatsumi Pool Island, inspired by real-life Odaiba, a man-made island full of trendy shops, attractions and scenic views of the bay. Naturally, being a high school student, you attend classes and exams, participate in a variety of extracurricular clubs, make friends and sometimes find shiny objects called Twilight Fragments. Very intriguing. Aside from the light-heartedness of the school social sim life comes the dark hour, a secret hour that occurs at midnight and only a select few who have the potential are aware of this and the shadows that inhabit this strange passage of time. The shadows are able to curse unsuspecting victims with a condition called the apathy syndrome that causes them to lose their sense of self. Right from the start, I would say Persona 3 is very atmospheric compared to P4 and P5. Your protagonist arrives on the island at the train station and has to make its way across the very gloomy, liminal space-like streets filled with creepy coffins and dark entities. This creates so much intrigue and mystery that you immediately feel engrossed in discovering the phenomenon of this strange place. As the story unfolds, the protagonist teams with S.E.E.S, essentially an undercover squad of similar potential users who can summon manifestations of their psyche known as personas. These personas allow them to counteract against the shadows, which eventually culminates in exploring the mysterious tower-like structure known as Tartarus. So, on the whole, if you experience any RPGs, you know sometimes they can get very bloated with tutorials and information thrown at you over many hours. And what I really like about P3R's intro section is that it gets you settled into the story fairly quickly with the right amount of tutorials to acquaint you with the basic gameplay mechanics. Tartarus is the central dungeon in Persona 3 where you'll need to continually climb up multiple floors to advance the story. Being a dungeon crawler means plenty of loot and cool treasures to find, finding missing people during dark hour, and of course engaging in fast, fun enemy encounters and boss battles. This huge tower seems endless, and it's up to the S.E.E.S team to investigate the mystery behind the existence of this strange place. The floors are essentially split off into multiple sections with distinct changes in the environment the further you climb up, and it seems to get weirder and more unsettling as you notice face-like shapes and organic structures along the walls and ceilings. Another thing I wanted to mention are the snippets of interactions and banter between your current team members. They're generally great to discover further insight to each character's personalities and build chemistry with as you explore Tartarus. One final tip to add during exploration and treasure hunting: I mentioned before about Twilight fragments. Do keep hold of these and use them when you see rare silver chests like these to retrieve upgrades or unique items. You can gain more fragments regularly from Elizabeth in the Velvet Room, so be sure to visit her from time to time. Reload has made a massive overhaul here to keep you engaged in terms of the visuals and much faster battles you'll need to grind for experience whilst keeping to the core gameplay loop of the original versions. The Persona series focuses on turn-based combat, which allows you to take your time to strategize and fully appreciate your actions as they play out. Just like in P5, I absolutely love the character models and the animations in the way they move as they attack, defend, fall and perform their persona skills in combat. Case in point, just a 3-second cutscene and a simple 2D animated portrait that appears behind the character when it activates a super effective move is so stylish and effective, it just never gets old. Adding to that, you have all-out attacks, which combines the attacks of your team to weigh on the enemies when they are down, or essentially staggered. The most flashiest moves are the individual signature moves each character will possess, known as theurgy. These special abilities require certain conditions to reach their potential, but once they do, you can perform this instantly to unleash a devastating or unique supportive move. Every enemy encounter is a visual feast for the eyes to experience again and again as you move from one to the next in a harmonious fashion. I also wanted to mention about shuffle time, which is one of my favourite features that occurs post-battle victory sequence. Basing on the concept of tarot, you get a choice of cards that can offer you rewards like a new persona, more experience, gold and new skills. Not to mention major arcanas, which give extra bonuses until you leave Tartarus. There's such an interesting mix of strategies, but also very easy to understand systems, which makes battles much more enjoyable and incredibly addictive. Everything is pure poetry in motion. Social links was first introduced in P3 and incorporated in the Persona games that followed. This is one of the other core mechanics of Reload, and it wouldn't feel like a proper RPG/life sim game if you couldn't interact with NPCs that can alter certain events or offer enriching moments. This unique and engaging system to establish relationships with characters that you meet along the way serves to unlock further social links, increase bonus experience for fusing personas, or create ultimate personas that are tied to the character's arcana, their inherent personality trait, if you will, an opportunity to form a romantic relationship with certain members. Just like life, forming social connections is important to forge strong bonds, and other than the reasons mentioned, it feels incredibly rewarding to listen to someone's story or experience and offer guidance throughout their hardships. Also, just like life, there are day-night cycles, and so it takes time to establish these connections. With social links, you're offered multiple answers to questions or scenarios with the character in question, and choosing one or the other can impact positively or negatively. So be wise and consider your answers carefully, and be sure to strike up friendly conversations where possible. A top tip for both in-game and in real life. Activities are closely related to social links and can make you a more stronger character overall. You have 3 social stats that you can develop throughout the calendar year that involves academics, helping you to be more knowledgeable and a model student in school. Then you have charm, which allows you to build charisma and socialise with anyone. And finally, courage, that demonstrates how gutsy you are and ability to tackle certain situations with ease. There are multiple ways to develop these stats by answering questions in school correctly, studying in the library, working part-time in a cafe, or how about taking on a meaty burger eating challenge. Exploring all these fun things on the side is equally rewarding but time consuming, in that you will need to manage your time efficiently to maximise the experience. If you've ever listened to any Persona music, you know they're known for being absolutely bangers. Music is always important to me, and Persona games take them to another level. Reload does a phenomenal job to retain the spirit of the original OST, but with some tweaks, remixes and reimaginings to make your head bop and rock the entire way through. I think this is slowly becoming one of my favourite soundtracks, in line with P4. Every Persona game has their own unique music genre, but there is some overlap in certain tracks. The music just works so well on many levels and definitely deserves high praises. Persona 3 Reload is absolutely chock-a-block with content that can easily go over 100 plus hours. It would take so much time to deep dive everything into one video. But for now, I'm ready to dive right back into Tartarus and high school life, and I hope you're convinced to do the same too, as I think Reload is actually a great entry point into the series for new players, and especially worth your time for veterans of the series. And as always, if you want to see more from me, be sure to all out attack the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching Tartarus Adventurer, and I'll see you before the next full moon. Around now.